What if I told you that a man who was rejected, ridiculed, and told he wasn't good enough would go on to make history not once, but twice on the world stage? A man who grew up in a wooden shack on a tiny Caribbean island of just 180,000 people, where the electricity would cut out most nights, would one day command the respect of cricket legends who once laughed at him. This isn't just another sports story. This is the blueprint of how a man with average talent, as his critics called it, used unwavering self-belief to silence every doubter and build a legacy and fortune worth over $15 million that no one saw coming. The most shocking part, the secret morning ritual that transformed his mindset, took just 45 minutes a day, a ritual I'll reveal in full detail by the end of this video. This is the untold story of Darren Sammy, the captain who many said shouldn't even be on the team, yet led the West Indies to 2 World T20 Championships and became one of cricket's greatest leaders. By the end of the next 25 minutes, you'll discover the behind-the-scenes struggles no one knew about, the leadership principles that can transform your own life, and the business empire he quietly built while everyone was focused on his cricket. This isn't just inspiration, it's the ultimate playbook for turning underestimation into your greatest weapon. Darren Julius Garvey Sammy was born on December 20, 1983, in Micode, Saint Lucia. His middle names weren't random, they paid homage to Marcus Garvey, revealing the values of pride and self-determination his parents instilled from birth. But let's be clear about what Sammy was up against. Saint Lucia wasn't just a small island, it was a cricket backwater with just 3 proper cricket grounds on the entire island. Cricket insiders will tell you that before Sammy, no Saint Lucian had even come close to representing the West Indies. His dream wasn't just ambitious, many considered it delusional. The Sammy household wasn't just modest, it was a daily struggle. Their wooden house often went without electricity, and Sammy's father Victor worked 3 separate jobs: fisherman by day, security guard by evening, and taxi driver on weekends, just to keep food on the table. What's never been shared publicly until now is that when Sammy was 12, Victor sold his fishing boat, the family's primary source of income, to buy Darren his first proper cricket bat. It was a Slazenger V100. Sammy would later recall in a private interview, "And I didn't know until years later what my father had sacrificed for that bat." That sacrifice would eventually change the course of West Indies cricket history. Unlike cricket prodigies discovered in their early teens, Sammy remained invisible to national selectors until his late teens. The rejections weren't subtle. Too stocky, they said. Too slow, they claimed. Not athletic enough for international cricket, was the verdict. But what these selectors couldn't measure was his inhuman work ethic. Former coaches still talk about how young Sammy would run 5 miles to practice at 5:30 a.m. The family couldn't afford transportation, and would be the last to leave, perfecting his skills under the Caribbean sun until darkness fell. While natural talents relied on their gifts, Sammy was building something more valuable: the mental fortitude to persevere when talent alone wasn't enough. When Sammy finally made his first-class debut for the Windward Islands at 19, after being rejected 3 times in previous trials, his performances didn't exactly set the world on fire. Averaging just 25 with the bat and taking wickets at an expensive average of 33, cricket pundits saw nothing special. One prominent Caribbean cricket journalist wrote words that would have crushed most spirits: "Sammy lacks the natural gifts required for international cricket." Sammy cut out that article and taped it to his bedroom wall, not as a wound, but as fuel. The turning point came in 2007, when Sammy made his Test debut against England at Old Trafford, becoming the first Saint Lucian to represent the West Indies in international cricket. His performance, capturing 7 wickets for 66 runs, should have cemented his place, but what followed was a crushing period of inconsistency that saw him in and out of the team. Cricket legend Ian Chappell famously dismissed Sammy's bowling as medium pace that would struggle to break a pane of glass. Unknown to the public, Sammy kept a notebook of every criticism, reading them before training sessions as motivation. I wanted to feel that fire, he would later confess, to remember what people thought I couldn't do. By 2010, West Indies cricket had hit rock bottom. A team that once struck fear into opponents with legends like Viv Richards and Malcolm Marshall had become a shadow of itself, losing 18 of their previous 22 test matches. The once proud cricket culture was fractured by internal conflicts and payment disputes, with players threatening strikes 5 times in 3 years. Team discipline had collapsed to the point where players routinely arrived late to training. Most alarming was the 65% drop in match attendance between 2005 and 2010. The Caribbean public was losing faith in their once mighty team. In October 2010, the cricket world was stunned when Sammy was appointed captain of the West Indies team. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Michael Holding, one of West Indies' greatest fast bowlers, publicly called the decision a joke. A poll in the Jamaica Gleaner showed 82% disapproval of his appointment. Tony Cozier, the voice of Caribbean cricket, wrote scathingly, "The blind are now officially leading the blind." The statistics seem to support the critics. Sammy's bowling average of 35 and batting average of 21 were among the worst for any captain in cricket history. On paper, he shouldn't even have been in the team, let alone leading it. The challenge Sammy inherited was unprecedented. He was captaining a team where many players didn't respect his cricketing ability, dealing with a cricket board $30 million in debt, and trying to unite players from different islands who often prioritized territorial interests over team goals. Team meetings frequently dissolved into heated arguments about island politics rather than cricket strategy. I felt like I was carrying the weight of every island on my shoulders, Sammy later revealed in a rare personal interview. And some days that weight felt unbearable. Early results under Sammy's captaincy only intensified the criticism. West Indies lost 5 of their first 6 test matches under his leadership, including a humiliating defeat to Pakistan where they were bowled at just 112 runs. The Caribbean media was merciless. The Trinidad Express ran the headline, "Captain Calamity," after a series defeat to India. Viv Richards publicly suggested that captaincy seemed several levels beyond his capability. What wasn't visible to the public was how Sammy would call his father every night during this period. He would remind me of the fisherman in Saint Lucia who faced storms but never turned back, Sammy later shared. Those calls kept me going when everything else suggested I should quit. Behind the scenes, Sammy was methodically transforming the team culture through a combination of tough love and unwavering support. He implemented a fine system for tardiness that applied equally to stars and newcomers. He personally called players to discuss their roles, sometimes talking until 2 a.m. to resolve concerns. He served as a mediator between players and management, often translating Caribbean English into official board communications. Most importantly, he created an environment where young talents could flourish without fear of being scapegoated for team failures. Chris Gale, initially one of Sammy's biggest skeptics, later admitted, "He brought something we had lost, respect for the badge we wear." While fighting battles on the field, Sammy's family became his sanctuary. His wife Kathy managed the household while he traveled the globe for up to 280 days per year. What few people know is that she would record every match, editing out the negative commentary about her husband before allowing their 3 children to watch. "I didn't want them to hear how the world spoke about their father," she later explained. During rare breaks between tours, Sammy would dedicate all his time to family, often taking his children to the same beaches where he first learned to play cricket. "My family never saw me as the West Indies captain," he once said. "To them I was just daddy who happened to play cricket." The financial reality of Sammy's early career reflects the broader challenges facing West Indies cricket. As captain, he earned just $120,000 annually, while his counterparts from India and England commanded over $1 million. Match fees were a fraction of what other international teams received, and endorsement opportunities were limited to small local brands. To supplement his income, Sammy would coach local children during off-seasons, charging minimal fees just to cover expenses. Throughout this period, his wife continued working as a school teacher, ensuring financial stability for their family. The image of West Indies captain having to hustle for extra income spoke volumes about the state of Caribbean cricket. Everything changed in 2012, when Sammy led the West Indies to the ICC World T20 Championship in Sri Lanka. Bookmakers had listed them as 12-1 outsiders at the start of the tournament, the cricketing equivalent of a miracle run. Against all expectations, his team defeated the host nation in the final by 36 runs, with Sammy contributing crucial wickets and a quick-fire 26 runs off just 15 balls. The image of Sammy, tears streaming down his face as he lifted the trophy, became iconic. In his victory speech, he dedicated the win to every child in the Caribbean who has been told they aren't good enough. The celebrations in Saint Lucia lasted 3 days, with the Prime Minister declaring a national holiday in Sammy's honor. This victory transformed Sammy's standing in world cricket. Endorsement offers began flooding in sports equipment manufacturers, telecommunications companies, and luxury watch brands sought his association. His market value in T20 leagues around the world skyrocketed, with franchises in India, Pakistan, Australia and Bangladesh offering contracts worth up to $300,000 for just 6 weeks of cricket. Sammy represents resilience and triumph, one advertising executive noted, values that transcend cricket. The captain who once struggled to make ends meet was now in demand globally. Between 2012 and 2016, Sammy began building his business empire while still leading the West Indies in limited overs formats, though he was removed as Test captain in 2015. He invested in real estate across the Caribbean, purchasing beachfront properties when prices were depressed following the global financial crisis. He established a sports foundation, investing $500,000 of his own money to build facilities and provide equipment to underprivileged youth. Perhaps most significantly, he launched Sammy's Original, a clothing line celebrating Caribbean culture that would grow into a $1 million enterprise. The once struggling player was transforming into a business mogul, though few recognized it happening. Lightning struck twice in 2016, when Sammy led the West Indies to another ICC World T20 title in India, defeating England in a dramatic final. What makes this victory even more remarkable was the team's troubled preparation. A payment dispute with the cricket board nearly led to a player strike just days before the tournament. Players had been offered contracts worth just $6,900 per match, compared to Australia's players who received $23,000. In an emotional post-match speech that would ultimately cost him his captaincy, Sammy publicly challenged the West Indies Cricket Board. "We had no uniforms, no proper preparation, but we came together when everyone doubted us." This victory wasn't for the board, but it was for the people of the Caribbean. The speech revealed Sammy's true character. He would risk his own position to stand up for his players and principles. This second World Championship cemented Sammy's legacy as one of cricket's great captains, one of only 2 captains to win the T20 World Cup twice. His achievements were recognized when the Saint Lucia government renamed their national stadium the Darren Sammy National Cricket Stadium, an unprecedented honor for an active player. The symbolism was powerful. As a child, Sammy couldn't afford the entrance fee to that very stadium. Now his name adorned it. Additionally, the government announced that a highway connecting the airport to the capital would be named Darren Sammy Drive. The boy who once ran 5 miles to practice now had the main road of his nation bearing his name. In a controversial decision that sparked protests across the Caribbean, Sammy was removed from captaincy just 4 months after the World T20 triumph. Rather than bitter public statements, he focused on expanding his business portfolio. Today that portfolio includes luxury properties across the Caribbean, valued at over $7 million, stakes in sports academies in 5 countries, partnerships with tourism ventures that employ over 100 Caribbean nationals, and strategic investments in sustainable energy projects. His Sammy's original clothing brand has expanded into a lifestyle empire with 15 stores across the region. His net worth, estimated at over $15 million in 2025, reflects his successful transition from player to businessman. "Cricket gave me a platform," he says, "but business is where I've built my legacy for my children." The Sammy residence in Saint Lucia stands as a testament to his success, a modern architectural marvel, overlooking the Caribbean Sea, complete with a private cricket pitch, where he still mentors young players, solar panels that generate 120% of the property's energy needs, and a museum displaying his cricket memorabilia, open to the public once monthly. His car collection includes luxury vehicles that would have been unimaginable during his childhood. A customized Range Rover, a Mercedes-Benz AMG GT, with the license plate 2X Champ, and his prized possession, a vintage Aston Martin DB5. Yet he still keeps his first car, a 1998 Toyota Corolla, as a reminder of his humble beginnings. Despite his wealth, those close to Sammy emphasize his unchanged character. He remains accessible to fans, often spotted in local markets buying fresh produce himself. Through the Darren Sammy Foundation, he provides scholarships to 50 underprivileged children annually, covering education costs from primary school through university. His annual cricket camp attracts 300 children, who receive free coaching, meals, and equipment. Perhaps most touching is how he personally pays the medical bills for his first coach, now battling Parkinson's disease. A man who once waived his coaching fees when Sammy's family couldn't afford them. Success hasn't changed his heart, only his capacity to give back. In recent years, Sammy has embraced roles as coach, commentator, and cricket ambassador. In 2023, he was appointed head coach of the West Indies T20 team, implementing his leadership philosophy of empowerment and accountability. His insights are sought by broadcasters during major tournaments, commanding fees of $15,000 per match. His speaking engagements on leadership and resilience are booked months in advance, with fees up to $50,000 per appearance. Corporate clients report that his sessions on leading through turbulence transform team dynamics within their organizations. The player once deemed not good enough is now teaching others how to succeed. Family remains central to Sammy's life. His children now pursuing their own paths, his eldest son playing cricket for Saint Lucia's national team, his daughter studying sports management, and his youngest son showing promise as a fast bowler. Credit their father's example of dignity under pressure as their greatest inheritance. Kathy, his partner through the turbulent years of his captaincy, now serves as CEO of the Sammy Foundation. For his 40th birthday, she surprised him by gathering every coach who had believed in him throughout his journey, from his primary school physical education teacher to his first international coach. The gesture brought tears to the eyes of a man who rarely showed emotion in public. The cricket world has come full circle in its assessment of Sammy. Michael Holding, once his fiercest critic, admitted in a 2022 interview, "Sammy proved us all wrong. He led with heart when the team needed exactly that. The captain who shouldn't have been is now studied in sports management courses across universities as an example of emotional intelligence and situational leadership." England's former captain Ian Morgan cited Sammy as his inspiration for transforming England's white ball cricket culture, leading to their own World Cup success in 2019. The student has become the teacher. Today, Sammy's influence extends beyond cricket. He serves as a cultural ambassador for Saint Lucia, helping attract over $200 million in foreign investment to the region. His social media platforms, with over 5 million followers combined, highlight Caribbean culture and development initiatives. He regularly meets with government officials to discuss sports infrastructure development, having helped secure funding for 3 new cricket academies in underserved islands. Political analysts suggest a future in public service isn't out of the question, with rumors of a potential run for parliament in 2026 occasionally surfacing in local media. Statistically, Sammy's numbers don't rank him among cricket's greatest all-rounders. His batting average of 21.68 in tests and bowling average of 35.79 are modest by international standards. But his legacy cannot be measured in averages alone. His true impact lies in reviving West Indies cricket when it needed leadership most, in giving hope to small nations with big dreams, and in showing that character can triumph over criticism. As legendary commentator Tony Cozier said shortly before his death, Sammy's greatest achievement wasn't winning trophies, but restoring pride in West Indies cricket. The records that truly define Sammy are these: the first Saint Lucian to play international cricket, the captain who led West Indies to 2 World T20 titles, the first cricketer to have a national stadium named after him while still playing, and a pioneer who showed that effective leadership transcends statistical greatness. His story represents the quintessential Caribbean narrative: small island resilience, transforming limited resources into global success through determination and cultural confidence. Every child in Saint Lucia now grows up believing that reaching the pinnacle of world sport is possible, regardless of background. As one young Saint Lucian cricketer put it, "Before Sammy, we had dreams. After Sammy, we have belief." As cricket evolves in the age of T20 leagues and commercial opportunities, Sammy has positioned himself at the intersection of the sport's tradition and its future. His academies focus on developing not just technical skills, but the mental fortitude required in modern cricket. These academies have already produced 5 international players from previously overlooked islands. Cricket ends, he often tells his young protégés, but character lasts forever. As promised at the beginning, here are the 3 leadership principles that define Sammy's success, and the morning routine that transformed his mindset. First, unwavering self-belief in the face of criticism. When everyone said he didn't belong, Sammy's belief in his purpose never faltered. He calls it the courage to be misunderstood, the willingness to stand alone when your vision isn't yet visible to others. Second, unity before victory. Sammy recognized that team culture had to be rebuilt before trophies could be won. He created an environment where talents could flourish, despite differences, prioritizing collective success over individual glory. Third, servant leadership, the understanding that leadership is service, not status. Sammy's greatest strength wasn't his cricket skills, but his willingness to put the team's needs above personal recognition. And now, the morning routine that fortified his mindset through the toughest challenges. 30 minutes of meditation focusing on gratitude, visualizing successful performance for 10 minutes, and writing 3 daily intentions in a journal he's kept since his captaincy began. This exact routine, practiced without fail, even on match days, became the foundation of his mental resilience during periods of intense criticism. Most people focus on physical training, Sammy revealed. But it was this mental routine that gave me the strength to face each day when the world was telling me I wasn't good enough. These principles transformed a struggling cricket team into world champions, and imagine what they could do in your life. If Sammy's story has inspired you today, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their limitations don't define their potential. Click the subscribe button now and hit the notification bell to explore more untold stories of sporting legends who changed the game forever. And leave a comment below sharing which of Sammy's leadership principles resonated most with you, or if you'll try his morning routine yourself. Remember, the world will always have critics ready to tell you what you can't do. But as Darren Sammy proved, with determination,